welcome to another episode of the TopCup podcast, a weekly conversational podcast where two buds talk out their butts to fill your cups with a little bit of hindsight. Because if there's anything we know about 2020, we're getting a lot of it. I am today's host, Daniel Arroyo, alongside me, my good bud, John Oyavides. John, how you doing? Say hi.
I'm doing good. I want food, though.
Food. Yeah, I actually had kind of a big brunch, I guess you could say. So I got breakfast pretty late. And now I have lunch. So, anyhow. If you're joining us for the first time, be sure to check us out on podcasting platforms, much like Google, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If you're returning, then welcome. Welcome back. We're glad to have you. Good to see you. How you doing? How are the kids? How's the parents? So, a lot of things on the docket today. Let's start with the PlayStation stuff. So PlayStation just recently had their second state of play of the year?
Yeah, like a mini one, kind of.
Yeah, it was a smaller. Can you call it a conference? No, it was like a showcase.
Yeah, showcase.
Smaller showcase of the year. And we're getting promised several showcases by several people, several production studios and big gaming companies, because E3 was just not happening this year.
Yeah.
Because it absolutely could not happen. But I got to sit down and watch the state of play because now I have time to wake up on time. Actually, the state of play was at 1 this time.
1?
So I didn't have to wake up that early.
That's actually surprising. Normally they're always like at 9 or 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Like 8 in the morning on the fucking West Coast. Yeah, I got to sit down and watch it because now I have a PS4 and now I'm, I feel like I must do my PlayStation duty as part of the community.
A part of me was like, wait, was it an exclusive stream on PlayStation? What the hell? I mean, it sounds fitting, but alrighty.
I mean, leave it up to PlayStation to make an exclusive stream.
Right?
Yeah. But no, we got to see a good handful of stuff. It lasted about an hour and a half. No, about 45 minutes, actually. Man.
That's surprising.
I'm pretty tired. I had a big brunch.
It's one of those kind of brunches.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of brunches. It's like a brick. Yeah, no, nothing terribly exciting coming from PlayStation this time around for this state of play. At least that's my opinion. We got a solid maybe 5-8 whole minutes of Crash Bandicoot 4 gameplay, where they showed off some new features for the game. Basically, it looks pretty, and it has several different modes that you can play that actually affect the world around. So it's mainly for those trophy hunters, the completionists of the PlayStation community. It looks fun. I'm not terribly excited to play it. Crash Bandicoot, of course, is a cornerstone for PlayStation. But I didn't really have much time with it growing up, so I'm not too hyped. I was more hyped about the Spyro trilogy getting remade, and I never bought it. So,
I played
what
one
does that say about me?
I don't remember which one. It was for the GameCube.
The one with the skateboarding, right?
Skateboarding? I have no idea. It was on GameCube. Chances are probably still have it in the box. Yeah, Spyro. The dragon,
Spyro
right?
wasn't on GameCube.
Yeah, it was.
Spyro's a PlayStation exclusive.
You're talking about Spyro's the little tiny purple dragon
Spyro
dude.
the Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain Spyro. Either way.
There's one on the GameCube. I own it. It's
Very
somewhere in the box. Must have been. It probably got hit GameCube before it became an exclusive.
I swear to God, it was an exclusive. But I guess I'm wrong.
Oh.
Anyhow, we also got to look at something exciting for people like Dominic.
Jedi?
No, we got to look at Vader Immortal for the PS4 and PSVR rather, and it was like, it's just a port. Yeah, it's a VR experience. But speaking of VR experience, what I was going to say was, I believe they're making the Hitman series, the entire Hitman series, available on PSVR. Now, John.
Interesting.
Imagine being this man going around
and killing.
And this is how and he sneaks up on someone, just first person view, and he just pulls out piano wire and starts unraveling it And you're just like, oh my God, they're going to let us live in the fucking eyes of an assassin. Just strangling people.
I could just imagine someone going like, yeah, ah, fuck, no. They have to go and like, they stumble into the person, they say, try to pick it up. They look him up, the guy looks at you like, are you? No. Go sleep.
But for me, I'm not a fan of the Hitman series. They kind of grabbed me a little bit with the VR kind of experience of it all, but I'm kind of questioning the morality of that.
The morale. It's one thing to just control a character with keys and a gamepad and a controller. It's one thing to live them.
But to put that power in someone's hands. Imagine it feels like the haptic feedback from the controlers of the Series X, where you can feel it get tighter.
You feel the vibrations of them going, and you're just like, no. I could just see so many people going like, I feel like I'm at a morally gray area. I don't feel right. But I'm trying to get that platinum.
I gotta get that platinum. The only thing that actually kind of excited me was the announcement of the second Control DLC for the game Control. For those of you who aren't aware, it's this really trippy action horror game where you play this woman who goes into this building and gets assigned as the director. And only like weird shit happens in this building. And she's the director of I forgot what it's called. Oh my God, I just had it. But anyway, these people handle like supernatural and like not normal instances. And they are housed in this building that is like constantly changing because it has some of these things happening within the building. It's like the building's alive. So it's a weird fucking game, but it's really fucking cool because it's kind of like if you had a badass gun, but we're still a Jedi. It's a weird transforming gun that makes you the director that also operates as a key, but you're a Jedi.
I hear like
it's weird.
And they did it better than Quantum Break, right? Because they're the same studio that did it. Yeah, Quantum Break was fine. I just had some issues with it personally. There's sometimes in games like that where I don't understand the point of some mechanics. I forget. It's been a while, so I don't remember which one it was. But in Quantum Break, it was either the guns were overpowered to the point where you just never really needed the abilities, or the abilities were overpowered to the point where you never really needed the guns. Or it just seemed like one of them just felt like, we're just going to throw this one in there. I'm assuming it's the guns. Because
probably the guns.
It's all about the powers in that one. And that one was just, I don't know. I just have an issue with like stuff like that where it's like I'd rather just have more difficulty trying to like navigate the game with just my powers, instead of having a gun. And also this guy's using like assault rifles and stuff like that, and I think like he's never used guns before, which also never really makes sense.
When the protagonist just picks up a gun and just like,
suddenly they're Master Chief, right? And
it's like a Power Ranger,
Yeah.
It's like you don't really know how to fight, but then you get the power, and all of a sudden you're a martial arts expert.
Yeah, right. I don't know. It's just one of my issues with that game. There were a few others, but like that was the main thing. But this game seemed like it did a lot better, blending the two powers and the gunplay and fighting.
Yeah. So I never really got to play Quantum Break, but I got to watch Joel play, and it seemed very fun. And they had an interesting way of blending reality with actual gameplay. So when it came to Control, it never really grabbed me. Everybody was saying that Control is like the greatest one of the greatest games of this generation, which is saying a lot because PS4 has been around for nearly 10 years now.
That's
so
lot.
to have something like that, not to mention that Control is also on Xbox, so it's on both consoles. Being able to say that for Control is quite an honor. But Joel bitched and moaned at me to play Control, so I finally played it. And when I say played it, I mean I played maybe 6 hours of the game. I streamed some of it,
which isn't
I don't know if it's
a
still in
lot
my archives,
because it's like
that game is long, dude. I don't know the actual hours of playtime, but it's a long game, and there's a lot, especially if you want to. The story is so fucking dense and convoluted that if you want to understand even a fraction of it, you have to fucking select every chat point, go to every encounter, pick up every fucking item and read everything and watch every video. And it's one of those games where if you really want to understand the game, then you have to fucking really put time into the game. And at the time, I just wasn't really feeling it. I didn't have enough time to do it.
My issue with those kind of games is like, if you're going to make something like that kind of feel like kind of like a requirement, sure, I guess you don't really need to if you can get by with most of the story. But like, if you really want to understand the story and stuff like that, I guess like this could be said for unique games that even don't feel like that, but they just have a weird design where it's like, we're going to make you need to collect all these little things to really get a better grasp of like characters or a story or whatever. And then they make the process super fucking tedious. If you're going to do that, make it fun. Like the original Assassin's Creed with all their puzzles, they were hard, but they were fun. Sure, maybe you can have like one thing that's like those hidden collectibles. Sure, that's cool. But I wouldn't say make them be like really not detrimental, really necessary to understand the story. Make them more for like, if you wanted to know a cool little thing else about the story, here's this little thing. Like find this little tiny item or this artifact or whatever the fuck, you know? That's personally how I like it because, God, I don't want to have to do shit like you. Go through a billion fucking boring ass Riddler fucking trophies just so I can be like, I got the ending. Like, no, don't make me do that.
Again.
I don't know. I'm just going to watch it on YouTube.
No, not really. I wouldn't do it again.
Or like Halo made it fine. Just play it on the hardest difficulty. Then you get a secret ending. You still got the ending. That's fine. Just don't make me do 180? 200? How many were there?
214.
Fuck that. No.
Yeah, it was a hassle. But getting back on track, it's a wonderful game. Control, it is. It's beautiful. I love playing it with my lights because I just turn everything red and it just works. The loading time is a bitch and a half. So I legit, anytime I die, which is frequently, and I'm playing on normal difficulty, I just put my controller down, pick up my phone, and go on Twitter for like 3 minutes, and then I'm back. It was just frustrating, and especially for the time where I was playing it because I just didn't have time to play games like I do now, which is hilarious to some people because it's still during the fucking quarantines.
In the quarantine.
But I don't know. It just wasn't doing enough to grab me like I wanted it to, and damn well not like Joel wanted it to grab me. But it held my interest in the idea of the story because for me, if you get me into a story, I reluctantly want to finish it because especially if you have a good amount of world building, I want to know what the fuck is going on. Because Control is the creative team and the writing team behind Control. Fucking, I don't know what peyote they were on or what, but they put some trippy shit in that. And it was so fucking cool because it's in this like 1950s like agency aesthetic. It's such an interesting fucking idea, and you're basically in a haunted house, but everything's so industrial. Anyhow, moving on.
Been talking about Control a lot. For a person like I only played like 6 hours of it, like it didn't really grip me. I'm just gonna talk about how much I love it.
I feel like that just has a lot to say about the game. So if you have the opportunity to play the game, then play it. You might have a different experience than I do. Anyhow, they announced a second DLC that had to do with the Alan Wake universe. So Alan Wake, if you are unfamiliar, is an action-adventure game, also with some trippy shit happening. Came out in 2010, and then it only got one DLC in 2012 called American Nightmare.
Which is actually pretty long in terms of like...
Really? In terms of a DLC?
Yeah, like the span. I mean, nowadays, we get DLCs...
Left and right, yeah.
Granted, this is like over a decade ago. Or about one decade.
That's so weird. John, I'm 24.
Yeah.
24. We're both 24
now. Oh, yeah,
now.
you're 24 now. Weird. Yeah, your birthday.
Yay.
Daniel's dying slowly.
I'm dying faster than most. But if you're unfamiliar with Alan Wake, it's a story about a novelist named Alan Wake. And I got the Wikipedia article here. Alan Wake, as he tries to uncover the mystery behind his wife's disappearance during a vacation in the small fictional town of Bright Falls, all while experiencing events from the plot in his latest novel, which he cannot remember writing, coming to life. So obviously there's some really trippy shit happening in Alan Wake. It has a lot to do with staying out of the shadows because the shadows are basically coming to life and attacking him. And it's all kind of like you get flashes of him like, I don't remember writing this, but then like a bunch of shit happens and it's weird and it's fucking crazy. And it's one of those stories that, much like Control, had weird shit going on and didn't really fully explain where it came from. Yeah, which is one of those ways of writing something that captures the imagination, because it's like Star Wars. And I know it's a very big leap to jump to Star Wars, but it's like Star Wars. People loved the idea that the Force was this magical thing and it lived in all things and it connected the universe. But when they moved on to the prequels and explained midichlorians and shit, people lost their fucking mind, you know? So sometimes that mystery is part of the charm, it's part of the aesthetic. And with Alan Wake and Control, they kind of had that. They give you loose explanations about things, but not the explanation.
Right.
You know?
Of what's actually going on.
It's not like a portal to hell opened and the devil started fucking shit up and because he was bored, you know? That's not how anything was explained in these two games. And it's wonderful because now they are being connected in a way that is fascinating, because it's still holding.
It's from the same studio, right? Obviously, I would assume.
No, I believe Alan Wake's from a different studio.
Oh, is it? Okay. How does this happen? Did they, because if it's not the same studio going like, oh, we're going to bring in an old character, did they have to like reach out and go like, hey, can we use your character? Because we think our universe would work really fucking well.
Let me look up the studios really quickly.
Because like sometimes that happens, but then sometimes you get weird.
Oh, actually,
crossover.
You know what? It was Remedy Entertainment. I'm stupid.
It was? Okay.
Stupid. Yeah, it was Remedy. So it was just a different publisher.
Okay. All right.
Same developer, different publisher, I think. Yeah, I could be wrong on that either way. But no, it makes very, very perfect sense to be connecting these things, because they're a bunch of fucking crazy shit that's happening that doesn't need to be explained, because it's just crazy shit that's happening in the world, and you accept that and you just play through the crazy shit. But now that they're connected, it broadens the entire universe of both games exponentially in a way that like you really couldn't have thought of. But it still keeps the mystery of like it's not the same thing. I mean, or it's like we don't know the source of what's happening. We just know that weird shit happens. It's such an interesting concept, because I never got to play Alan Wake, but like many games, I sat there and I watched Joel play it, and it was a very interesting game. And eventually I'll get to it at some point. But right now that it's getting connected to Control, it's kind of piquing my interest and grabbing my attention again, because again, I only played like 6 hours of Control, but the story intrigued me enough to kind of have it in the back of my mind that I want to go back eventually. So it didn't absolutely turn me away from the game, but especially now with the Alan Wake thing, and you know, I'm a fucking bitch for lore, John. I'm a bitch for lore, and I'm an even bigger bitch for connecting universes. So this might give me some incentive to finish Control and to actually get this fucking DLC.
Gives you all the more reason, hey, Fall Guys, when they do the Witcher crossover.
Yeah. Let's just hope they don't do that crossover with Walmart.
Oh, God. When's that DLC come out?
So the Control DLC is, wow, is that the only one? Oh, yeah. It's available August 27th. So it's actually coming out later this month.
Oh, okay. Right around the corner.
I was like, I swear to God, I noted this. I swear to God, I fucking put this down. This is not the only thing that I didn't put down. So like I said earlier, if you haven't played Control, go give it a shot. It's a very fun game. It's aesthetically pleasing. It really is. They did a real number on that game. The only thing I hate with a passion in the heat of 1,000 suns is the way that the save points are set up. I don't like the save points.
Is that the ones where you have to like run around and find them?
Yeah, you have to run around, find them, clear them of infection, and then that becomes a save point. And then you can use them for fast travel. It irritates me. I just hate. I don't like that shit. I like autosaves. That's me, because I do reckless shit all the time, and I can't be set all the way back here just to get back here.
I don't want to have to die. I guess that's the one for me. That's another. I mean, granted, I'm not saying that's how it is for this game, but I don't want to have the possibility of dying just so I can save.
Yeah, no, it's a pain in the ass. Kind of harkens back to Dead Space, but Dead Space was a little better.
Anyways, what else?
Yeah, anyhow, moving on, because this was a short conference, but I'm making this longer than it needs to be. Let's see, moving on, we have The Pathless, which is talk about beautiful game, man. I hadn't seen anything prior to this, but granted, this is probably the most I've been paying attention to game conferences in the past 3 years.
Not much else to do.
Yeah, not much else to do. It is a beautiful game, and it gives me strong vibes of Breath of the Wild and, of course, of Journey. Which is another PS4 game. If you haven't played Journey, fucking please go play it. It is so fucking great. Not only is it beautiful, it's one of those things with lore, man. Like, they get me. PlayStation gets me. It's a very subtle game, if I can put it anyway. It's not exactly like a walking simulator. It's not exactly just much like Journey. There's not an intense amount of combat, but for the most part, you're this character that's running through big fields, shooting shit with your bow, which is unlike other games, mainly based on keeping your stride, because hitting these targets with your bow gives you speed boost. So you can be crossing these long terrains very easily if you just keep shooting targets.
So you're trying to be Sonic.
It's very fun.
You gotta go fast.
Sure. Gotta go fast. But so you're crossing this very large terrain, these plains and stuff, to get to these towers that are infected with this darkness. Once you clear the darkness, you kind of have a bigger perception of the world around you. And so along with these towers are these like dark guardian beast things that come and attack you. And the only way to weaken them enough to defeat them, I believe, is what they said, is to purify the towers, which kind of sounds like a never-ending like fetch quest to beat the final boss. That can be problematic. And honestly, the shooting the targets to keep your stride seems a little problematic as well. It seems like something that would irritate the hell out of me, especially if the map is sizable,
And like, say you like don't have any targets for a while.
Yeah, I mean, the way they made it look is that the targets are very close together so that you can keep that stride.
I was gonna say, because my issue is sometimes in games like that, there comes a point where it's like you were supposed to have hit everything. Like they made it so that way you at least would be hit a certain amount of things to be at a certain amount of speed, because this area is going to be a little on the empty side. But the idea is you hit enough that you just right past it, But then something happens, someone messes up, maybe someone hits a bump, all that momentum's gone, and now they have to just go at like the slowest speed possible for like the biggest thing. That would be my issue, because that sometimes happens. Like maybe you didn't hit like the speed boost checkpoint thingy in some like games, and now you're just like you're going like, well, the next one isn't for like so and so feet or meters, I'm just gonna go at the slowest fucking speed. This sucks.
Kind of harkens back to Spider-Man for me when you hit a place where there's no buildings. You just can't fucking swing, so you have to jump everywhere and web zip everywhere. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. It ruins the fluidity of the momentum and kind of takes you out of the game, because you're just like, well, this fucking feels clunky.
But it's reality, because if you saw the movie, even Tom Holland has to deal with that.
Which is probably the best fucking scene they could have put in that movie.
It is the most realist thing, honestly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the Pathless, it's notable things about the game. It's very beautiful. It has a very unique system of traversal around the terrain. The enemies look fantastic. They really do. They kind of look like something that could come out of Breath of the Wild, just with like a smokiness and like colors and stuff. And when these things like these guardians of the towers are around, they're fucking, everything turns red, John. It's so fucking crazy. And then what happens is you have a companion, which is I think a hawk, which you can also use to glide around.
Or an eagle.
Falcon.
It's one of those.
Some type of bird of prey.
Yeah.
It's a big bird of prey. And you can use it to traverse, like jumping off cliffs and stuff, which is a very interesting concept. It just always blows my mind how birds can do that. But it helps you with various mechanics in the game. So what happens when you encounter these big beasts, it whips up a storm and it fucking just sends your bird flying away from you and it can't come back to you. So you're just all alone without any help fighting this massive creature that is fucking terrifying. But it's funny because once you get it to a certain health, it starts running from you and then you're hunting it. And it's such a weird flip of the script to me that it just makes me question, like, what is the idea here?
That'd be funny if more games did something like that, like in Assassin's Creed or some shit. Like you're fighting a big guy, you get him to 20%, or Dark Souls even better, because those dudes are monsters. They're huge. Get them to like 20% health, and then you just start running, cowering in fear, and you're like, nah, come back here, boy. Give me that ass. I'm done with you. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting way of combat that they've created for this. Probably the best thing to come out of this game that I've seen is that you get to take time, pet, and clean your bird's feathers. You can clean like dust off of it or whatever, so it can fly properly. And it's just like this scene where it's kind of like this kind of camera view, and your bird's right here, and you're just like. And your bird just looks so happy, and it's so cool. Like that's game of the year type stuff for me. Give me a bird. Give me a bird and let me pet it. Let me.
Assassin's Creed, man. You get a cat. It stows away in a little tiny cubby area on your boat, rides with you into battle, and you can carry it and pet it.
I prefer a dragon.
Hey man,
Not those Vikings.
A lot of games are realizing that everyone just wants to be able to pet shit.
Yeah, which makes me feel really bad because I'm currently playing The Last of Us 2, and I've gotten to the part where the dogs are a part of the thing. And I have killed some of the dogs in the game purely by accident. But when I do kill a dog, I die. I let myself die so I can restart and just do it as clean as possible. That's the type of player I am.
Be one of those games where like they have it so that way if you don't kill it in a certain way, it just makes whimpering sounds the entire time.
Oh, it's so bad. I hate it. I hate it.
And then they have like scripted lines from other characters to just be like, "Are you really just gonna let it suffer?" Like shit like that just make you feel like you're the worst person in the world.
I hate it, John, because it does make you feel like you're the worst person in the world. When I knock the dog off me and I hit it away, it makes a whimpering sound, and it's just so sad. Before we get too far away from this, Pathless is slated for holiday 2020. So let's see if that actually happens.
Okay.
Let's hope it happens.
It's right around the corner.
It does look like a game that would be very fun to play. Hopefully it doesn't have to come out around Christmas, or rather it come out near Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Anything else, Daniel? We might need to speed through it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shorter one, but The Pedestrian is a port that's coming from PC to PS4 on January 2021. This game is a 2.5D puzzle game that came out January of this year on PC, which I had no idea existed. But now that I see it, now that I see the gameplay through State of Play, it is the game that I want to get, because it's all about moving these, like, you're the stick figure that's like on a crossing sign. You're the stick figure trying to go through this terrain of various like signs and drawings and stuff depending on the area that you're in, just to get from point A to point B. And it's crazy because there's a ladder that leads from one square up to another square up here. You have to there are some functions where you have to complete a circuit to be able to move forward between the squares by connecting one panel to like an electrical unit and then connecting the various other panels to it so you can move freely through them. And it's you know how much I love puzzle games, John. This is a game for me. I'm definitely gonna get it. I'm actually probably gonna look into it on my computer.
It sounds and looks interesting, but it adds like quite literally another depth to like a standard 2D scroller. Makes it a little bit more original and stuff like that. But yeah, that's cool. And
seems like a very fun game.
Was that like one of the last things?
Yeah, I believe it was one of the things that they closed out on. But yeah, like I said before, it's coming to PS4 January 2021. So all in all, it was a very interesting conference, or rather showcase, but I wasn't terribly impressed by anything really, at least not while watching it. It was no PS5 reveal conference, you know, like that's kind of what I was expecting, and that's my fault for expecting that, because it definitely wasn't going to be that.
I saw a few headlines from like IGN and stuff like that, just like, don't expect the same thing. It's not. It's going to be a much shorter or much smaller thing. No real big hit standouts other than like maybe one or two games. But other than that, nah. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
And still no price point. PlayStation, Xbox, just put it to rest already, man. Just give us a fucking price. It's August.
I know.
August,
they're
man.
going to be coming out in like 2 months, 3 months.
Just give us a fucking price, please.
So Sony made an announcement. I think this came actually like the day before, or was this on the same day? It wasn't during the conference. I know that, right?
Maybe a couple days after the Avengers War Table announcement, where they showed that they were going to be releasing extra characters for Avengers.
Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah.
So Sony made an announcement, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting Spider-Man, but not for anything else other than PlayStation. It's not even the Spider-Man that we know. It's not the movie Spider-Man. It's not the video game Spider-Man. It's just the Spider-Man with his own backstory.
Marvel's Avengers coming out September 4th.
September 4th, okay. Not a lot of people were too happy with this news. A lot of people, there were a lot of articles published, a lot of people complaining on, go figure, Twitter. It was one of the things where obviously everyone's mad on Twitter, but there's reason, and everyone's mad on other sites as well. But yeah, it annoyed a lot of people for various reasons. One of them being, it's him being this DLC character that's exclusive to PlayStation. One would think, oh, are they bringing in this Spider-Man from Insomniac? No. not that.
Granted, it may have an available suit for the Insomniac Spider-Man, but it's not. Any other ties, I think, end there.
And you can't even say, oh, well, I mean, that game came out a while. No, because they're making the Miles Morales version. Clearly, they're still hyped for that game. So that's one thing.
The world still has a hard-on for Marvel's Spider-Man.
They did him very well. But anyways, other than that, another issue. The way that this game is set up, every character has a different story and playstyle. Very unique to them.
Kind of to a fault.
To a fault.
I hear.
Yeah, to a fault, because it does kind of make some things a little bit more tedious and annoying. But the issue with that is having exclusives like that means that there's an entire style of game that people are missing out on. Imagine playing Call of Duty, but only Xbox gets to have sniper rifles. It doesn't make sense. Or some RPG style video game, but only Sony can have wizards or something like that. It doesn't make sense. It kind of really ruins the whole getting to play different stories, different styles of game, and it's just really bad. A lot of people don't like it, because if the game's good, because that's the issue. If the game is good, that means you want to play as everyone, right? You want to play as all the characters. But if one of them's tied to a system that you don't have, what the hell? That could ruin a person's perspective on it. Or maybe they'll just decide, fuck it, I don't want to get it if I can't play as all the characters,
Yeah, it's like only the studio would be losing money at that point. Because, I mean, not to say that Marvel's Avengers isn't going to be bought the fuck out. It's not going to be anywhere close to the releases for Spider-Man or The Last of Us or even, other games on other platforms, because it's gonna get sold. It's gonna sell a lot of fucking copies. Sell. I know I'm gonna buy Avengers because I'm intrigued by it. It's our first actual Avengers game, and none of the character models look, or none of the character models even remotely look like anyone from the Marvel movies, but it was kind of a decision that they wanted to make them stand out away from the MCU.
My issue is not even in that, they also look a little weird even compared to their comic counterparts, and it's just this is a weird take, but I guess sure. Some people were arguing that fair is fair, everything is fair in Love and War. What is it? I don't know. Fucking, because Sony owns Spider-Man, so they can do it. It's just something you guys have to deal with, which as far as I'm aware, not true. They own the film rights to Spider-Man. That's true. So they get to decide what happens with Spider-Man. It's the whole fiasco with Marvel potentially making another Spider-Man. Sony was like, nah, you got your 2 Spider-Man films, you got him in Endgame, you got him in Infinity War, that's it, he's ours now, peace. A lot of fans weren't happy with that. They were like, nope, this is a Spider-Man that we love, actually, written well, good character, good enemies, it's really good, don't fucking ruin this for us like you did all the other ones. But one of the main arguments I was saying is hey, you gotta deal with it, they own it. Not true, it is not. Who owns it for gaming was originally Activision, but they ended up selling to Insomniac, who then made the Marvel Spider-Man. So Insomniac owns the rights to the game counterpart, or to use them in a game. There was something about a contract about how story-wise, how you make the character, or who gets to make the character's story. I don't know too much about the specifics on that. Could be wrong. I just remember there was something about a contract. I don't really remember. What I do know is that there was a clause, if not this contract, maybe in one of the other ones, that Spider-Man is allowed to be used in other games so long as there are other characters from the Marvel universe. Hence the reason we have games like Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel's Ultimate Alliance, stuff like that, where you have a whole slew of characters, Spider-Man's included, because he is allowed to be in those style games. So even going in that argument doesn't seem to make sense. This is a Marvel's Avengers game. There are at least confirmed 6 other playable characters. You have Thor, Spider-Man, you have Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hulk, Miss Marvel, and Ant-Man. So about 7.
I'm not sure if Ant-Man's going to be playable. I know he's in the game, but I'm not sure if he's actually going to be playable.
Right.
Yeah, but he's a character. Yeah. And then later releasing the first extra character will be Hawkeye.
Right. Hawkeye as well. Regardless of which, it is a lot of characters, So if that clause is true, that he can only appear in games that have other characters,
you have plenty.
Still doesn't work. You have plenty. Should be enough. So I don't know. I don't know what happens. I mean, we do have this running theme with Sony that they're all about the exclusivity. Hell, Destiny has exclusive things with Sony. They get the game early, or they get raids early or some shit. I don't know. Call of Duty the same. They have a whole survival or something style mode that no other console or computer gets to play. And these are like year exclusives, which I think is some of the stupidest things and some of the most detrimental, because the main fan base is made in that year. Always. I mean, that's just how it is. For games like Destiny, maybe it's a little bit easier because these games don't get a sequel for years. I mean, Destiny itself isn't supposed to have another sequel, but we never know. But games like Call of Duty, what? I mean, these games are made yearly. There is always another Call of Duty by the end of that year. Cool. We'll get it in a year for Xbox and PlayStation users. But by the time that happens, the next Call of Duty is going to be out. Who's going to give a shit about the old one? It just doesn't make sense. And it pissed a lot of people off. It pissed people off now.
And I feel like it just gives more fuel to the fire for this console wars bullshit that should be ending, honestly, this generation. But I don't think it is, because Sony's just holding on to the fucking price, much like Xbox. And I guarantee they're just going to try to undercut each other for the price.
Even then, though, but here's the thing, PlayStation is trying to sell consoles. Xbox doesn't give a shit. Xbox does not care, because...
Which is kind of fascinating because... Sorry to cut you off. It's kind of fascinating because there's only going to be a limited number of PS5s.
Yeah, I know.
At launch, which is... I mean, I understand that some of that might have to do with COVID. Maybe all of it might have to do with COVID. But it's still like PlayStation is definitely prioritizing selling consoles over user experience.
So there are a lot of things, is that because, is it COVID related? So there's limited supply? Is it because they're selling this console at a huge loss, so they can only spare a certain amount of money to make these consoles to then sell them? Who knows? But yeah, Xbox does not care for the most part. I mean, they have made the system, so they're like, here's the Series X, which you don't need to get. Xbox One S, perfectly fine. Xbox One X, even better. You're good. And rumors are, over the past day, it's confirmed from at least that there's going to be another Series S, Series X, but slightly smaller. Maybe to bridge that gap between Xbox One X and Series X, or some other thing, Who knows? The future of Xbox is not console. It is Game Pass. That's all they care about. You can tell. So it's interesting where you have PlayStation, where it's like exclusives are what's going to drive everything. You're going to buy our console because exclusives. Xbox, on the other hand, is like, I don't give a shit. Here's Game Pass. Play it on whatever the fuck you want. Whatever supports it. That's why it's this console war thing is, for the most part, it's done. It's over. There is no competition.
I don't know. It's fascinating to see how much Xbox is really driving the fucking point of, we want to get as many games in as many people's hands as physically and digitally possible. And they're making fucking good on that promise, because now the Project X Cloud beta is going to end and restart up again, I believe, September 17th. I may be wrong about that, but it's just going to be bundled in with Game Pass.
And there's some arguments, It's like, well, yeah, Xbox wants everyone to be able to play games. What's the point if they're not good, I mean, they're no God of War, they're not Spider-Man, they're not Last of Us, they're not those games.
Well, yeah, I guess that's just a bigger argument of AAA games versus indie games or smaller studio games.
Other people have pointed out, that there's an inherent difference. Sony really focuses on the single player game, but once you beat them, what happens? I mean, you beat Last of Us. When's the next time you're going to play it again? Whereas I'm still playing Call of Duty. I'm still playing that fucking game. And chances are, when Halo comes out, I'm going to be playing that all of the time, No matter if I hate it, I'll still play it because it's the next Halo. So it's like one of these things where it's like, yeah, they're not making great or the most amazing single player games, but they are playing the game that you're probably going to be playing day to day for months, the one that you're really going to be putting your time and money into, because microtransactions, you're going to be putting money into it, because even if you don't want to, there will be always at least one fucking skin or one cosmetic, no matter what, that's it speaks to me. And it's only $2.
I really need it.
You don't understand. And with Game Pass, you never paid the $60. So hey, that's $45.
Where's the loss?
That's $45 that you're saving. So in your head, or in my mind, that's all that money I could put directly to the game. Wait, that makes sense for... It's probably... that makes sense.
Fiscal.
That makes
financial sense. Yeah, no. But to your point, one of the things you kind of learn as a gamer coming up is that you really have to be choosy about some of the games that you get, even though they look really great. You have to look at it and be like, what's the replay value on this? I remember when I first picked up, I think Portal 2. I put it on Facebook. I was like, do I get Mortal Kombat X? No, it wasn't X. I was like, do I get Mortal Kombat 9 or do I get Portal 2? And my sister Danielle commented, and she's like, well, really what you have to look at is replay value. Like, what are you going to be playing more often? How many people do you play with? And it's like, well, okay, Mortal Kombat, I can keep playing, but I can only do fighting things so much. And then eventually, once I picked up Portal, I was like, this game, it's still one of my favorite games to this day, and I will replay the fuck out of it. The multiplayer couch co-op is fantastic. That was a learning point for me for choosing between a game. And now it kind of extends further past that to consoles, where it's like, do I get this game for Xbox? Do I get this game for PlayStation? Kind of what's the replay value? What does it look like once I have that console? And is it going to be worth it? Because like you said, PlayStation tends to focus more on the single player driven games. And then after that, like what happens? I mean, you could just go back to the story, try to platinum it. I think that might be why there's such a big thing of platinuming games. But and we're not saying that PlayStation doesn't have any multiplayer games. That'd be obviously very stupid. But it's not going to have the focus on community as much as Xbox.
There's definitely a stronger sense of community when you talk about Xbox Live as opposed to PSN Plus. Not saying that there isn't, but it was like the first thing that like everyone knew. You go like, oh, back on Call of Duty Xbox Live lobbies. How many times do you hear Halo 3 Xbox Live parties? Granted, Halo 3 isn't exclusive. I don't really hear people go like, oh, back in the day, like PlayStation Plus lobbies or PSN lobbies or whatever the fuck. Whenever people talk about playing with people back in the day, it's either on Xbox Live or LAN parties on PC. So play what you want, play with who you want. Because if you value single players more than playing with people, maybe PlayStation's the place to go. But if you like multiplayer more, I mean, they both have it. So really just go with wherever your friends are. Because reality is, if you're playing a multiplayer, you're planning to play with friends. So just play with whoever has the majority of the shares.
Yeah, and honestly, it's gotta. I don't know where Marvel's Avengers stands with crossplay, where we can play on different consoles in like the same servers, much like Rocket League. So if you're that one person that's like, hey, I got Avengers, and it's like, oh, you got it for Xbox, and all of your friends have Xbox, it's like, no, I got it for PS4 because it has Spider-Man. It's like, oh, okay, that kind of sucks. So I thought we could play together, and it's like, well, yeah, and even if it does come across, be able to play on servers connecting the two consoles, if there might be a chance that you won't be able to use Spider-Man since it's a PlayStation exclusive, if that makes sense. So it's aggravating what Sony does. But
you play with a lot of people and your friends, they're running around as Spider-Man. You're just going like, man, I want to be Spider-Man.
Cool. I'll just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait until Spider-Man comes out. Spider-Man's stupid anyway.
Fuck it, I'll just watch him in movies. It's better that way. But yeah.
Oh, you got a little pixely there.
Did I? Oh, I look fine on my end. But yeah. I think that was pretty much everything for Sony on today's thing. But yeah.
So hopefully Sony, I don't know. Hopefully this is one time where the community can be like, hey, Sony, you suck. Give us Spider-Man everywhere. And they're just like, you know what? They did it for that Sonic guy. I guess we can change some shit for you guys.
They also did it for the movie. So yeah.
Yeah, they also did. But it's like, I don't know. Sony has a weird attachment to Spider-Man, but that's a whole other conversation.
Just be like, hey, Sony, remember last year with that whole Spider-Man thing? Yeah, do it again.
How much that sucked?
You know how much that sucked and people didn't like it? Yeah, do it again.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Sony, please, for the love of God, get your shit together.